You are now tuned into Blueprint Radio.
Yo, let's talk about it. We talked about the first half of the series.
Yeah.
Second half coming up.
Bro.
McMahon documentary, Mr. McMahon, WWE official.
Yeah.
How did you feel about this second half of the doc, my G?
So I think we finished it around episode 3, mid 4.
Yes.
I don't remember where exactly we finished off. It might have been the Montreal screw job or whatever the
That's
case
where
is.
we kind of finished our speaking
Yeah,
points.
right. So I'll touch on when it really focuses on the family side of the relationship.
Before you go, stick up in there.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Let's talk about The Rock and Steve.
Okay.
Stone Cold
all right,
Steve
all right,
Austin.
all right.
Because that's
we didn't touch on that yet? Okay.
That's very important.
Like, in regards to the rise of our, like, in the Attitude Era.
DX came back.
Okay, bet. Okay.
DX brought it back.
Yeah.
And guys started coming back to the league.
Yeah.
And then you get brand new superstars.
Yeah.
We had never seen The Rock. He was Nation of Domination. Yeah. Then he stepped out and he was better at talking than almost anybody we had seen before. On like a Steve, only Stone Cold is on that level with talking on the mic. Yeah. To me,
I think Rock's better, but
I think
The Rock is more witty and on his toes.
Yes, you might be right, but I think Stone Cold had the crowd.
He did, but Stone Cold was like, he was the perfect. He was like the Undertaker, where he was like he was loved for being a bad guy just as much as he was loved for being the good guy. Like, exactly. He was like that anti-hero kind of thing.
But he's
right?
perfect because everybody wants to be like that to their boss.
100%.
And then he represents Middle America,
the working class
South.
Man. Yeah.
He drinks beer.
He was perfect.
And he has a quick temper. He's the rattlesnake.
He came in as a ringmaster. So they had a different idea for him in regards to being this ring tactician. Exactly. And again, it was that rant, that Austin 316 rant that just took them out of there. Right? So I'll tell you a story. As we were talking about that, around that time, I think 99, it might have been actually a little past that, I went to the first Raw in Canada ever at the Skydome. And yo, bro, it was an event, bro. Like, it was one of those things that, like, to this day, I still get chills thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because it was Raw. So it was, I think at that time, it might have been from 9 to 11.
Yeah.
It was a 2-hour show, but we had to be there from 7. So they ran like a Sunday night heat before the show, right? and just to kind of just skim over quick, like, the energy because The Rock at that point was part of the Nation of Domination.
Yeah.
So at that point,
he was probably just twisting over.
No, but he was in full like jabroni mode. Like, he was just shitting on everybody. You see what I'm saying? But what I realized, I think I had really good seats. I had like maybe like 5th or 6th row if I remember. Yo, The Rock came down and his muscle and he was just a specimen, bro. A specimen, bro.
Yo, between him, I'll tell you another story about wrestling.
Yeah.
One time at one of those drugstores, Batista did a signing.
Yeah.
Yo, he had to go in sideways.
Bro.
Batista was out here. Yeah. All muscle.
Yeah. No,
get back to the
Rock. But I appreciate, like, seeing it up front. Like, even up until that point, I kind of believe that it was sort of fake.
Yeah.
But actually going in person and seeing them getting hit by chairs, seeing them fall off the top rope onto the outside floor, like, you can't fake that. I don't care how well you can take a fall.
It doesn't matter how you fall because it's still gonna.
Yeah.
Yo, that is the shock that you're absorbing in your body. You're still gonna feel it somehow.
Yeah, that athleticism was there, so that's something. So if you've never, and then I went to SummerSlam. Survivor Series, but Brock versus Lesnar.
Fam. You did things.
Yeah, nah, bro.
Yo, that
was huge too. But again, for those that haven't gone to a WWE event, it is definitely one of the most entertaining. It's up there for me as, if we're going to consider it sporting events, as the top.
And back then they used to have great matches on Raw.
But again, Raw matches were pay-per-view matches. Like, every single match was a pay-per-view match.
Basically,
like, considering today or even before. And we were talking about on the last show, they had the Saturday Night Main Events. Like, Saturday Night Main Event was literally effectively Raw and SmackDown every twice a week.
That's nuts.
Yeah, but they definitely saved, especially with McMahon going through the legal issues that he was going through. It's funny how just stay the course, because if you asked him, I guess in '93 when when everything was going to shit for him and WCW was taking over, and just kind of wait the storm out. The storm out.
He said they knew how many weeks he was off track. 82 weeks. WCW had it over WWE.
Crazy.
And then they came back. Once he realized what the Attitude Era needed to be.
Bro. Wow.
Because, let's be honest. WCW versus Nitro might be one of the best video games of all time.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's definitely up there.
It was crazy. That game was out of its mind. Like, you could pull stuff out of the crowd.
Yeah,
you could have Royal Rumbles with 8 controllers.
For its time, it was definitely
4 controllers. But if you had a double pack, you could do 8.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Wrestling games, we need to do a quick survey on the best wrestling games of all time.
So we go through that area. He starts bringing his family and getting them involved.
Yeah.
So then you see McMahon being a real character, and this is where they're saying the lines were kind of blurred.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know if it was real life McMahon or if it was Mr. McMahon the character, and then he was bringing in elements of his life, like being sued by not Sonny, Sable. He was sued by Sable, but then he put Sable as
he brought her back.
And talked about him suing. Yeah, like that was a part of the storyline.
And I think as we talk about the next 2 episodes, like that's what really cements itself for me with Mr. McMahon. It was the fact that the business came first. Like the only thing, like he had kids, he had a wife.
He does a business.
The only thing he loved was that business.
He does not.
Everything was the business. He ran his daughter out to do all these different. He ran her out and just said, like, go hit the track, go get some bread and come back.
You forgot they almost had a storyline where it was like,
he
impregnated his own daughter. So
crazy.
They're already on some R. Kelly trapped in the closet.
Control. Too much.
That's some R. Kelly trapped in the closet business. But what was crazy is McMahon is kissing and hugging up all these girls while these suits are going on.
Again, that's the flaw. We'll get to this at the end of this too, but that's, again, what I come down to it. It's like he blurred the line so much. And I think for him to be successful, the great artists do it. You can even like get down to a granular level of Joker, right? And diving into the role to being Heath Ledger and being that character. Right. So I can understand when you're going from city to city to city and you have to keep this act up at a certain point, you're not Vince McMahon anymore, chairman. You are Mr. McMahon, the character. And now it's easier just to stay in that character as opposed to going back and forth at a certain point. You pick which one's easier.
It's also crazy how life repeats itself.
Yeah.
His son tried to prove to him.
Oh man, that Shane stuff was gold. That Shane stuff was gold.
That
was gold, man.
Shane was getting thrown through like glass. He was flying off the top of the cage.
But see, the way I look at it like a therapist. I feel would, in the sense that like he's looking for his dad's attention.
Yeah, he's a little kid.
He literally was doing the biggest stunts in WWE history, and he's the son.
But he's not even a wrestler like that.
Not even a trained wrestler. So that's what I'm saying. To me, it was a cry for help. It was a cry. It was like
he wanted to, because Stephanie got put in that position.
And again, that's the twist.
Because Stephanie has that personality where Stephanie's business first.
She was good.
She doesn't care about all that extra stuff. She's like, Dad, is this what we need to do?
Yeah.
Because I'm in.
And again, that also leads to me where it goes, like, you might have a plan. You might have a plan in place.
Yeah.
But you just sometimes are you going to be stubborn and go with your own, directive, or are you going to see what actually needs to be done and do it?
But are you going to go with what's popping? Because right now, if a lot of that stuff that was happening on that show, couldn't happen right now.
But first thing I'll say, we'll get back to it in a second. Paul Heyman, he needs to narrate. Like everything.
Oh, Paul Heyman is the man.
Paul Heyman is the man, bro. Like I can listen to Paul Heyman speak for hours, bro.
Oh, come on. He is the wrestling voice.
Anyways, I digress. But
Paul Heyman has been the wrestling voice for a long time. Yeah. Now.
But you know what Vince got off too? Like Linda in the whole scenario, bro. Like, you know what I mean?
But he might have one of the most supportive wives of all time.
But she let him get all of that off, though. You think she was finessed by the role character?
But you don't think the bread is coming to her, though?
Of course. Well, evidently she was behind the sines running all of the finances and everything.
She knows WWE. What's popping, bro.
So she knows she's
when you marry into that, you know, like, I'm $1 billion man. I've turned this around.
Yo.
are you gonna ride with me or are you gonna ride with me? And it made me feel like we'll talk about starting 5 next week. But it reminds me of Savannah with LeBron.
100%. You have to have those to be successful.
You gotta have a ride or die. That's with you from day one.
It's a must. It's mandatory. It's not even an option. And for you to stay on the straight and narrow for as long as possible, you have to have that person that is in your corner that's gonna unwaveringly tell you the good, the bad, the ugly. That's going to ride with you even when they know you're wrong. Yeah,
they might ride with you in public, but tell you something in the personals.
But you know, so you need all of that. That's a good balance. I felt her dynamic was so interesting to me. The Shane dynamic,
family dynamic in general, like
at that level, right? Because Vince McMahon, I think it was Teddy Atlas that said it, he's probably the greatest showman of all time, and I would be hard pressed to be like, find me one better.
Yo, Vince's character. You don't realize how long he actually was like a main character on his
Triple H. No, I'm not even said he's WWE's best character,
longest standing too.
Yeah. That's
you know
crazy.
what I mean?
That's crazy.
If you really think about it,
that's talking about being hands on in the business. But we said it. Vince from the first episode. Vince wanted to be an entertainer. He wanted to be the entertainer. He wanted to be the talent.
Vince knew what needed to be done and was willing to do whatever needed to be done for his business to grow and be successful. In the time when he was stubborn, he saw the loss that he incurred. Yeah. WCW came up. They embraced luchador culture. Yeah. They embraced villain culture. Yeah. They embraced having a whole roster of other things in wrestling that Vince wasn't ready for. Yeah. They took on that ECW hardcore looking culture. Yeah. They brought it to their product. Yo, WCW had the most wrestlers of all time. They had like 160 wrestlers.
It actually got boring to watch because they had
but everybody was a star.
And by the
you had K-Dog, but
you know what it was? Like, they'll have a match. I remember they'll have a match in WCW when they in their prime when they were buying up all the wrestlers.
Yes,
and the match will say it's Eddie Guerrero versus Dean Malenko, right, or something like that. And right, and let's say they have that, which is an amazing match, anyways. But by the end of that match, the NWO has come down, and the Wolfpack has come down, and now then Bischoff has come down, and Sting has come down from the rafters. So by the end of that segment, it was half an hour, and it was like 50 guys in the ring, and it started to get played out.
So let's talk about something that the documentary talked about.
Yeah.
And it was tragic, actually. He's Canadian.
Yeah.
Crossface crippler.
Yeah.
They spoke on it. And WWE has basically a gag order. They have never really spoken about him since the incident.
Well, because,
it's so crazy because, all right, I was watching the pay-per-view event when Owen Hart died.
Yeah. I was too. Yeah.
That was super tragic.
Yeah.
R.I.P. legend.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't like how they tried to flip his character. And like Shawn Michaels and them were kind of playing him out in public, like calling him a nugget and all that.
No, it was by design.
It was by design.
Vince can say what he wants.
It was by design, but it was nasty work.
Yeah.
But then the crazy thing is the next day, I remember even as a young, like a teenager, young teen, I didn't feel how they spoke about Owen Hart the next day because Raw was obviously the next day, and they did a tribute, and it felt like a lot of wrestlers were still laughing, and they weren't serious about their brother who just died. The show probably should have stopped.
Yeah, they probably shouldn't have done that.
They probably should have stopped then, and they should have said, you know what, we got to deal with it. If you looked at the ring, you could see his blood
on the side of the apron, bro.
Fam,
that's crazy.
So when the Crossface Crippler did that to his family, that's Benoit, Chris Benoit. The next day they had a tribute because they didn't know the details.
That to me is a crazy thing, and I think
they didn't realize the details that this guy had unalived his whole family. And like, I'm not gonna lie, Chris Benoit was one of those wrestlers that you appreciated. Him, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, they were all in that same.
But he did look a little. I don't want to say off, but he did. Like, he had an intensity.
He's a madman.
He had an intensity to him, bro.
He's one of the four horsemen, but he looked a little off.
He did. And like, so just speaking about that, because obviously, imagine you're praising this guy and all of everything he's done, and then the reports come out while the show is going on that he actually, did what he did to his family.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think you would feel a ways too.
Of
I think,
course.
moving forward, you might time delay, or you may do something a little different. Maybe not even do that episode or whatever, or do it
But
taped something.
You
so
know
you
what
can,
I mean? Like, this is your brother. You would think, like,
yeah, no, I get it.
you
I
would
get
never
it.
expect that from a man you know. And that's what made it more crazier. Like, even Vince looked uncomfortable with talking about it at this time.
But you know what I like about this doc too? In a lot of lights, because it was the catalyst really for the forward thinking of CTE, like way before the NFL.
Let's talk about that.
Right?
That's legit.
So the fact that, Vince was obviously stubborn, and I can understand him being defensive in regards to the way that, the government has been coming after him.
Yeah,
right? So now this is another one. I'm putting up my guard. But what I really appreciated, in the doc and everyone that was speaking about it was a quick turnaround in the sense of, okay, you're getting at me, but because there was a wrestler, I forgot his name, that used to be a wrestler and then became, a doctor at Harvard, and is now letting, his ex-colleagues know, hey, no, this is a real thing.
You're taking
this is life or death, literally.
A lot of things happening to your mind.
100%. And so the fact that everything that like happened to Benoit, in hindsight, you feel terrible that he was going through something that he didn't even know that he had no defense for.
He had no idea. But I'm not gonna. We're not shooting him.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. But
that was such a heinous.
Hindsight's 20/20, and I think with having that, we're able to kind of give certain graces. The outcome, is the outcome. But I think the way that we look at addiction, and we look at mental illness and depression and all these other things, we look at it
and brain injury.
Yeah, a totally different lens right now.
Of course,
right?
Like, we can't have the same lens we would have had in the 80s, the 90s, 2000s. So knowing what we know now, as we grow, we learn more.
100%, right? and we have to apply it, right? So it just runs in theory with everything the WWE. They're such a trendsetter. They in pop culture, right. Even the women, like the division and everything that they've, like, they were probably one of the first major leagues that were starting to really push their women as forefront, before, like, we're seeing the rise of the WNBA, and we're seeing all that. You're right. Like, they've been, a leader in a lot of these movements, over the last 10, 15, 20 years. So right. I'll give them the props on that. But also what's crazy, because we lived it, is we go from the Attitude Era, then we go into this like super PG era where, like, and I get it, right? You want to make money. You want endorsements. You want, you want to bring the kids and the families so you can make money forever. And I get the mindset.
It went too far, though.
Too far in one direction, 100%.
The Jerry Springer era went a little way too left.
Yeah, and for too long.
Howard Stern, all that. Like, culture was just getting nasty.
Yeah.
It needed a little shift.
Like a reset.
It did.
Yeah.
I think it needs a reset right now.
I'm with you.
But anyways, we could talk on this topic for days.
Okay, what's your final thoughts then? I guess just to
sum it up, great doc.
Yeah.
Everything I asked for and more. Mm-hmm. Knowing Vince McMahon's story, it's hard to hate him.
Yeah.
He's done some heinous things, and time will tell on that.
Yeah.
Time will definitely tell on
that. No, the one thing, again, I'll take that and I'll just, put a bow on it myself, is he's pretty much in line with how, the richest and the most successful people, unfortunately, are in America, right? Yeah. When it comes to it, especially in the entertainment business. Like, he's a super genius, super resilient to get to the point where he is, a trendsetter, an innovator. But then, at a certain point, you could see he became his own worst enemy, exactly. Right? And he's just, that's what I see entertainment is. We can talk about it in other lights of, other media that's going on right now. But Vince, he will have his place in the history of entertainment.
Of course.
I don't think that there will ever be another Vince McMahon, or even remotely close.
You can't do this.
To that,
Right now, in these days and times, you can't touch that.
But what I am calling, I think if he doesn't go the presidential route, I see this is where The Rock is perfect to line up to be that next great, like that person.
I
because
think he's already lining himself to get to that position.
Right? Like I just see it. I just see him being that especially taking over the WWE in regards to the TKO merger and all that. So great doc. You got me on my doc tip right now. I'm into it. I'm looking for good docs to watch.
Don't worry, I got more coming. Yo.
There we go.
You are now tuned into Blueprint Radio.